Alright guys, in today's video we have more PlayStation news and rumors to go over and discuss. We have quite a lot to talk about here, so before we get into it, do me a big favor and hit that like button to help this video out and show it your support. And if you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button as well. I would definitely appreciate it. We're starting here though with an interesting leak regarding not only a PlayStation Plus game that we can expect to be part of July 2021's lineup, but also a game that is set to be revealed tomorrow during Xbox's E3 2021 showcase. It says here in a Reset Era thread discussing a massive E3 2021 leak, user Deluxe Era mentioned that according to their own sources, the leak's claim of a Plague Tale Requiem was accurate. Deluxe Era believes that a Plague Tale Requiem will be announced during Xbox's E3 2021 event, where it will be confirmed as a Day 1 Xbox Game Pass game, with PlayStation and Switch versions also in development for release in 2022. Deluxe Era then went on to say that there will also be a next-gen remaster of the first Plague Tale game announced at E3. This Plague Tale remaster will supposedly be the free PS5 game for the PS Plus July 2021 lineup. Deluxe Era didn't reveal what the free PS4 games will be, however. So I wanted to be sure to let you guys know about this because I've heard really good things about A Plague Tale. I haven't played it personally, and it sounds really interesting to me that they're going to be giving this game out for free, the remastered version, as part of PlayStation Plus. It sounds like it could even be launching into it, which is interesting. We know that that's something that Sony likes to do, so I may have to try it out. And apparently the sequel to the game is going to be announced during Xbox's E3 event tomorrow, and it will be a Day 1 Game Pass game, which is also interesting. So there you go. Let me know what you think about that, but we're moving right along here, and we're going to be talking about some things that PlayStation boss Jim Ryan had to say recently in an interview. I think you guys are definitely going to find some of this interesting. So reading from PlayStation Lifestyle, it says, Sony's Jim Ryan is frustrated and upset about PS5 scalpers and the bot situation. So Sony Interactive Entertainment's Chief Executive Officer Jim Ryan has told Axios that the issue of PlayStation 5 scalpers and resellers frustrates and upsets him. This really frustrates me and upsets me, especially when resellers and bots manage to get their hands on stock, he said. The executive went on to reassure fans that Sony is working, quote, incredibly hard, unquote, to get PS5s into, quote, the right hands, unquote. As part of its efforts, Sony is utilizing PlayStation Direct and plans to expand the distribution service to Europe before the end of March 2022. That said, Jim Ryan reiterated that demand for the console is very high, and Sony is still facing manufacturing constraints due to the global component shortages sparked by, obviously, everything that's been going on in the world. Despite this, the company managed to ship a record 7.8 million PS5s by the end of March 2021. And obviously, they've been selling a lot more since then. I have to imagine that that number is now in, well past 8 million, probably closer to 9 million, maybe even somehow close to 10 million units, which is awesome. But that's not the only thing that Jim Ryan talked about in this interview. Apparently, he wanted to clarify his stance on old games. Now, I have an interesting article here coming from Push Square, and I thought the title was kind of funny. It says, actually, PlayStation boss Jim Ryan doesn't hate old games. So it says, why would anyone play this? It's a quote that will cling to Jim Ryan for his entire career, and now he's actually addressed it. For those in desperate need of context, the PlayStation boss famously told Time about the occasion he attended a Gran Turismo event. The PS1 and the PS2 games, they looked ancient, he said, of the older racing games compared to the more modern Gran Turismo Sport. Like, why would anybody play this? Ever since, the statement has been passed around as evidence of the executive's disdain for older games, which came to a head recently when the company announced plans to close the PS3 and PS Vita storefronts. It has since reversed that decision, but the stigma remains. Until now, perhaps. The point I was trying to make, obviously not very well, was just how great the PS4 version looked and how far the series had evolved, he told Axios Gaming, as reported by VGC. I certainly wasn't trying to be disrespectful to our heritage. I guess my big learning from all of this is that when Kazunori Yamauchi unveils the next Gran Turismo side by side with its history, that I will keep my mouth shut. So I just wanted to be sure to highlight this quote because I do find it pretty humorous, but I do actually appreciate Jim Ryan acknowledging this, right? Obviously, people are going to have their opinions, even though he's saying this, but for him to say that he's going to keep his mouth shut, I mean, that's a pretty, bold thing to be saying, considering he is the executive, over there at PlayStation. He's the big head honcho. So I think this is a good thing. I think it was actually long overdue. I think it's a smart thing for Jim Ryan to clarify his comments and make it known that he did make a mistake and that he was just simply trying to talk positively about the PS4 version of Gran Turismo Sport. Obviously, it was unnecessary for him to take shots at PlayStation's heritage, but again, I thought it was interesting and I wanted to be sure to highlight that to you guys. I also want to talk about something else Jim Ryan talked about, and that is bringing PlayStation's IP to smartphones. Now, this is not news. We know that this is something Sony is pursuing, but Jim Ryan did talk about it a little bit further. And again, I feel like the way he worded it maybe wasn't the best way to word it, but again, it's not surprising. We all knew this was something that was in the works. So Jim Ryan, CEO and president of Sony Interactive Entertainment, has revealed the format holder will be bringing us news of its push to mobile devices soon, stating he feels it's perverse to restrict its first-party offerings to PlayStation consoles. Speaking during an interview with Axios, Ryan touched on Sony's decision to dip its toes into the realm of smartphone gaming, making it clear he sees that it makes no sense in restricting its massive portfolio of IPs to the PlayStation community only. So he's quoted with saying, "The thinking here is that our IP portfolio is in such a strong state right now, it seems perverse to restrict enjoyment of it to our existing PlayStation community." Ryan added that we are working on a number of models to open up mobile, but wouldn't confirm whether or not these mobile games would be made in-house at Sony's array of studios, or if they would be bringing in fresh talent to helm the projects. So I know how most of you feel about this. You probably feel pretty similar to how I feel, which is I don't care too much about this at all. I will certainly pay attention to what games Sony brings to mobile and what they end up looking like, the quality of these games. I think that will actually be pretty important. I think if Sony does it right, they could actually bring even more people into the PlayStation ecosystem and maybe convince some people to go out there and buy these consoles to experience these AAA games. But I don't want to see that have to come at the expense of it interfering potentially or taking away resources from Sony's current studios that are working on these projects. I assume it won't. That really wouldn't make much sense for Sony to do that. And I'm sure the developers don't want to do that either. I'm sure the developers of these big AAA projects care about how these games are going to turn out, but this is what Jim Ryan is saying. And so, again, I think the way he worded it, it definitely could have been better. I don't think it's necessary to call it perverse to want to restrict some of these games to the PlayStation console, but Jim Ryan just has a way with words, I guess. And finally, we're talking about Jim Ryan's comments on Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I believe this is the first time he's actually talked about this. And so it says Jim Ryan has commented on the delisting of Cyberpunk 2077 from the PlayStation Store for the first time since the game was removed from the PlayStation Store in December. Again, this is him speaking with the interview he did with Axios. Jim Ryan stated that this was a tough decision for us to make, but ultimately we had to act in the interests of the PlayStation community and not knowingly sell a game that might result in a bad experience for them. Ryan also offered no details on when the game will be back on the store. So I just wanted to mention this because I do appreciate what Jim Ryan is saying here. He's making it clear that the reason why they did this was because they just didn't want to sell a completely broken game to their PlayStation community. They didn't think it was right. I told you guys before that this was a pretty big decision for Sony to be making, considering the amount of money they're going to lose out on, but also you have to imagine how many people were going to request refunds, and they probably wanted to avoid that headache, but they also wanted to make a statement, which is PlayStation is a platform where, more often than not, you can expect quality, and you're not going to get away with, hyping up the biggest and best AAA game of all time just to end up releasing it in a completely broken state, basically releasing it in shambles. So just wanted to let you guys know what Jim Ryan was saying about this. But we're going to move on from that and talk about some updates we got for some upcoming PlayStation exclusives. Although I do believe these games are timed exclusives, still they are games that people are very excited about. So the first game is Kenna Bridge of Spirits. This is a game that's launching in late August. I'm very excited for it. I know many of you are very excited for it. We actually got some new gameplay of it, which looks really, really good. And I can't wait to play it. It's going to be a day one buy for me. But I actually came across an individual named German Strands on Twitter who I think did a good job just compiling some basic information about the game that I wanted to relay to you guys. I think he did it in a really good way here. So he says, new Kenna Bridge of Spirits info, Metroidvania elements, a mix between God of War and Horizon, Souls-light combat, unlockable skill trees, 10 to 12 hours of playtime, surprisingly difficult, amazing visuals and soundtrack. So in my opinion, that's a lot of information about this game that again was compiled in a very concise way here that I wanted to let you guys know about, because you can tell that this is going to be one of the bigger indie titles that Sony releases on the PlayStation 5, potentially throughout the entire generation, and people are very much feeling good about this title, and I like everything I'm hearing about it. I like the fact that they're saying it's a mix between God of War and Horizon. I love that they're saying it's Souls-light combat. The combat in the Souls series is some of my favorite of all time. I love that type of combat. There's going to be unlockable skill trees, 10 to 12 hours of playtime, which is pretty solid, and apparently it's going to be surprisingly difficult, and we all know the game looks amazing. So there you go. You'll probably see some of the new gameplay playing in the background here, but I want to also let you guys know that we got a small update on Sifu as well, which is a game I am also very excited about. I love the John Wick and just Kung Fu inspiration of this title, so we didn't get too much on it. We got about a minute-long gameplay trailer, which they actually packed quite a lot in this trailer. And one thing I noticed, and I think other people noticed as well if you're watching it in the background right now, is the way the interactions occur in the environment, the way the characters interact with the environment. It really seems pretty in-depth, and it's surprisingly intense. So I really like what I'm seeing here. I just wanted to be sure to show Sifu some love here, let you guys know this is a PlayStation exclusive. It seems likely, again, it's a timed exclusive. So yeah, this looks amazing. I can't wait to play this game. But I'm going to close out this video just letting you guys know about some PlayStation 5 upgrades that you may be interested in. So this is reading from Push Square, and it says Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is the first game to offer a free physical to digital PS5 upgrade. So it says here, since the PlayStation 5 launched last November, free PS4 to PS5 upgrades have been fairly common as developers release their titles with enhancements for the new generation. The only problem has been if you own a physical copy of a PS4 game, you would have to also buy the PS5 system with a disc drive in order to qualify for the free upgrade that is until now. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is the first game we are aware of that allows you to upgrade from the physical PS4 edition to a digital version on the PS5, meaning you can still freely qualify for the current gen adventure even if you have a discless system. There's a process attached to this free upgrade, but it seems worth it if you want to save some cash. You essentially need to validate your purchase of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order with EA, and then it will send you a digital code to redeem on PS5. So to get things started, you must head over to an EA Help website and select PS5 as your platform of choice, then pick up the first option labeled Codes and Promotions, and then replace disc with code. You'll then be prompted to fill out a form with a proof of purchase attached to it. We assume a screenshot of either a physical receipt or online order confirmation will suffice. And so, you know, it's saying it'll get back to, EA will get back to you in about 72 hours, or you may have to wait a few days to actually get the code. But still, I know it's a little bit of a lengthy process, but I just wanted to highlight this because I think that this is going to become an important thing for people if it isn't already, for those especially who bought the digital only version. It's nice to see that publishers are offering a way, even though it may be a little bit of a process, as I said, to redeem this game, right? So you don't have to pay for it again, and you want to get that full native PS5 upgrade. And that's not to mention that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order has officially gotten a native PlayStation 5 version with all of the bells and whistles and upgrades that you would expect to get. And on top of that, World War Z is another title that is getting a full PlayStation 5 upgrade. Again, reading from Push Square, it says Saber Interactive's popular PlayStation 4 co-op shooter World War Z is getting an expanded re-release named Aftermath, which will bundle all of the content from World War Z Game of the Year Edition and throw in a ton of new features. These additions include new characters, a new melee system, new zombies, and a first-person mode. That's actually pretty interesting. The game will launch later this year on the PS4 with enhancements and backwards compatibility for PS5 with a native next-gen version that will deploy early next year with a free PS4 to PS5 upgrade. In addition to all of the above extras, the heavily expanded re-release will also include 3 new story locations: Rome, Vatican City, and the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia. You'll be able to dual-wield melee weapons, while the aforementioned PS5 upgrade will feature a new Horde XL mode, which promises hundreds more on-screen zombies, which simply wouldn't be possible on the PS4. And I actually thought this was really cool. I certainly wanted to take a moment to let you guys know about this upgrade, but specifically that we are seeing developer do something interesting here, where they are trying to leverage the extra power that these next-gen consoles offer with their native PS5 version and do something with it that, as they say here, wouldn't be possible on PS4, like adding in hundreds more on-screen zombies. That's kind of what this game is known for, and to think that they're going to be able to do that even more so, right? That's pretty awesome. So just want to let you guys know about these upgrades. And the final thing I'm going to let you know about right now is a PlayStation 5 bundle that I've seen some people talking to me about. It's a Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart PlayStation 5 bundle, and it turns out it is a real thing. Unfortunately, it seems as though right now it's only releasing in France. So before it was rumored that this was a thing Sony was doing, now we actually have photographic evidence that it is in fact a real thing. And again, reading from Push Square, it says if you needed further evidence of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart PS5 bundles releasing in France, well, here they are, real physical hardware boxes featuring Insomniac Games platformer on the cover. So far, these have only released in France, but we'll let you know if they are made available elsewhere. So it's anybody's guess if it's going to be exclusive to France. I don't know why it would be. I would assume that Sony would want to have these bundles out in other regions, but you never know. Sometimes this is how they do it. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, be sure to leave it a like. Make sure you leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.